Bruce Springsteen was an artist that I grew up hearing on the radio, and to be honest, I was never really a die-hard fan. It was just another voice you'd hear on the radio with some catchy songs, Dancing in the Dark, Hungry Heart, all those kinds of things. But I suppose it wasn't until about a few years ago I was going over to Europe, and I'd just been listening to him a little bit more for some reason, and he was doing a tour, so I decided to get tickets, seeing I was going to be there. And once I saw him in concert, this was Milan 2012, I was blown away. I was blown away by the fans, first of all, who had lined up for, maybe 2 nights before, and I joined them on that. 2 nights? Yeah, I think, well, they were there probably for 2 nights before. I was there the evening before, about 6 p.m.
And this is to get into the concert?
This is to get in, because, general admission is, first come, first serve. And I had number 100 on my hands, because the fans do a numbering system. So went back, didn't have to sleep over there. They do a roll call thing, which is good. So I went back at 4 a.m. next morning and lined up all day, and met heaps of fans, and made a little group of friends. And once the concert started, I was just blown away. He played for 3 hours and 47 minutes, which at the time was, I think, his second longest concert of his career, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe the amount of raw power that this guy was putting in. I'd seen U2, with their massive, Claw stage show and all that, and that was mind-blowing. But this guy was completely different, because he didn't need all that kind of, all the props, basically. It was just pure rock and roll, guitar, horns, piano, the works, and he was just jumping around. And he's 63 years old, now he's 64. And he was running around like he was 18 years old, and I just thought, man, I've got to know all about this guy. I've got to really get into him, and I did. And now, if there's a day that goes by that I don't listen to Bruce Springsteen, it's a rare day, that's for sure. I could use just a little. You can't start a
fire. You can't start a fire. You mentioned there that part of the hook, I guess, was the fan community as well that you met in Milan. Yeah. For that show. Were you not a bit freaked out by their passion for him and the fact that they'd stayed up for 2 days just to get, first in line for that concert?
Yeah, well, not just that they'd, been there that long outside the stadium, but also that they'd come from all over the world, And the people I met, locals in Milan, one guy who was an Argentine guy who had lived in Milan for 20 years or so. We just got chatting when I first went to get my number to line up. And he took me back to the hotel. He picked me up at 4 a.m. to take me back to the stadium. And we stuck together. And it was amazing. It was just such a warm feeling, I suppose, of acceptance and, friendship because of a common bond, the love for Bruce Springsteen's music. And, I'd experienced that with the U2 tour here in Australia as well. And actually I had seen U2 in Milan, I think it was 2009 as well. So I knew, how music can bring people together, that common interest, that common passion. And, it's something that I just love being a part of. And my parents, my family, they think that I'm a bit crazy. As I'm sure many listeners probably think it's a bit crazy as well, travelling around the world to see all these concerts and that. But, it's an addiction, but it's a healthy one, I think.
That's so interesting. You're talking about that really strong bond that you found, Simon. And locally, of course, there's the Bruce Springsteen Perth fan club now, which was first established by yourself, Luke. Can you describe why you wanted to get this community going in Western Australia?
Yeah, well, originally the Perth community used to be a petition page in an effort to lure Bruce Springsteen to Perth on the Wrecking Ball tour. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful to bring to lure Bruce to Perth on that tour, but Simon had spoken to me about his experience when he went to Milan and the fans that were over there. So we thought of making this Perth petition page into a community page, not only for people of Perth, but for everyone that lives on the East Coast and anyone that lives over the world. So anyone that's a part of that page is welcome. There's a joke, yes, the wine, it's on me. I shake it well off my shoulders.
Hilary Snell with you on 720 ABC Perth and local radio WA, and we're speaking to two very excited Bruce Springsteen fans. It's Simon Costarano and also Luke Reynolds, who are administrators for the Bruce Springsteen Perth website. Have you been surprised by the amount of response and the willingness for people to get on board and get excited about him coming to Perth?
Yeah, definitely. Since the tour was announced, the response, the feedback for the page skyrocketed. I think we went from 400 people liking the page to over 1,000 now.
Yeah, in a matter of days. Over 1,000. It was a matter of hours. When we broke the news about the tour happening, we had a lot of stunned people. People really weren't willing to believe it at first until Frontier Touring made it official. The page skyrocketed, and like Simon said, in a matter of hours. Yeah, got to give Luke a lot of credit for finding out about the upcoming tour pretty much before anyone online, at least.
How did that happen?
Luke was pretty savvy, and he was on the internet looking for Bruce Springsteen news. Just I suppose coincidentally at the time, right?
Definitely, and Triple M had posted this page which had the dates listed, and at first I rubbed my eyes, and the first person I got hold of was Simon, and within minutes, well probably within seconds, that page was retracted, but by that stage we had already broke the news about the tour, and then the promoters broke the news a couple of days afterwards.
That's incredible. And how did you feel when you first realised that he was coming to Perth?
I was pretty stoked.
It was about close to midnight on Wednesday or something.
Close, yeah.
And Luke got in touch with me, and I was jumping out of my skin. I couldn't believe he was actually coming to Perth, So I posted a note with the dates as Luke had seen it on the Facebook page, and I couldn't believe so many people were still awake at that time because it just went berserk, didn't it? It was pretty funny.